and then you need an elastic for the front. Okay, so that those are just the two major materials you will need to make this dress. Now when it comes to the fabric, the amount of fabric you will need will depend on what size you are. For me, I use 2 yards exactly for this particular dress. Now if you're someone who is bigger, that means that you will definitely need about 2.5 or 3 yards of fabric. This also depends on the fabric you are using. This fabric I'm using is crepe and it's usually by 60, so the length is actually long, so I can afford to use just 2 yards. So now the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to turn the wrong side of this fabric, and I'm going to fold it first into two. So after folding it into two like this on this end, I am going to go ahead and fold it again. This time it becomes a fold into four. So you're going to fold your fabric into four, and make sure that the longer length is where you're going to be using as the length of your fabric. Like I said, this fabric is by 60, so the longer length is going to be for the length of this dress, and the other part will be for the body. So I'm going to be taking this part as the side, and then this other part is going to be the middle. So first thing I'm going to do is to cut about 2 inches away from the upper part here. This is what I'm going to be using later to serve as my rope. Now this doesn't affect the length of my gown because the full length I actually need is 58. And remember I told you guys that this whole length here is 60 inches. So now the next thing I want you to do is to go ahead and draw out the neckline from this upper part here. So for the neck width, I am going to go in from the center by 2.5 inches, so that by the time I'm done stitching everything, it falls into 3 inches. So I'll go in by 2.5 inches here. Remember that the front and back are together here, so I'll be drawing out the both necklines at once. Now from the top, I'm going to come down by 6 inches for my neck depth in front. So I'm just connecting the 2 points with a V to give me the neckline for the front. Now for the back neckline, I'm going to come down from the top by 1.5 inch and make a point here. So I'll connect a round neckline to meet this new point, and it's also going to have the same width as the front neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the back neckline first. So I'll cut it out on both the front and the back piece. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just give this dress a little bit of a shoulder slope. If you don't want a shoulder slope, that's totally fine. You can decide to measure it, just come down by 1 inch, or you can just do it with your free hand if you can actually do that. So I just did it with my free hand. It's just a very little shoulder slope. So now I'm going to go ahead and open up this side as well all the way to the end. Remember we folded it, and this is the side, so it needs to be open. Now for the front neckline, I am going to be removing the back from inside, so that I'll be cutting out the front neckline alone, because the neckline for the front and back is different. So I'll go ahead and cut out the V now. Next thing we're going to do is to stitch down the neckline. Now you can decide to do this in different ways. You can cut out a facing, or you can use a bias, but I just decided to fold the neckline because this fabric was quite like shaky and stretchy, and I didn't want to go through with that stretch. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch around the neckline all the way around to the other end for the front, and I will do the same thing for the back as well. Just fold the neckline and go ahead and stitch it down. So I folded the neckline like I said I was going to do, and this is what it looks like in front, and this is what the back looks like. Now I'm going to be placing the two pieces right sides facing each other. I'm going to be pinning them down on the shoulder areas so that we'll go ahead and stitch down the shoulders. I'll go ahead and stitch it down here with about 1/2 inch and do the same thing here. So guys, I'm done stitching it down now on the shoulders, as you can see. So I went ahead to iron out the center front of this fabric so that it would be easy for me to just get the middle. So I just made a gator line here all the way to the end so that I won't have to be using chalk to get the middle of this. Okay, this is just very easy. You can see the line, it's so easy to actually follow. So I'm going to be placing my elastic here to give it the ruchiness that you saw at the beginning of this tutorial. So for the length of my elastic, I just measured from my chest down to my knee, and the measurement I had was about 30 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my elastic with 30 inches. So I've cut out my elastic now, and I'm going to be stitching it on this line that I had here from my ironing that I did. So I'll be doing it on the sewing machine, and I'll be stretching the elastic as I sew along. So this is it. This is me on the sewing machine. I'm placing the elastic exactly on that gator line, and I'm just going to stretch it as I sew all the way to the end of the center front. So this is what it looked like in front after I was done placing the elastic here. So you can see I made sure that my elastic did get to the exact end so that I'll be able to fold the ends up later. Okay, so just make sure to do the same thing. Let your elastic be about 1 inch shorter than the full length of the front. So now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is to work on the sleeve areas. So now for the sleeve width, I am just going to go from the shoulder. I'm going to go down by 10 inches. This actually depends on how wide you want your sleeves to be. So for me, I just came down by 10 inches, and I'm going to mark it on both the front and the back. I'll be heading over to the sewing machine, and I'll just be folding this area. So on the end, I'll fold it very lightly, and then I'll just continue to fold it all the way through to the other point where I marked down. So I'll just fold it, and when I get to the other point, I'll just slim it down into the end of the fabric like this. So I'll do this for the both sleeves. Now I'm done stitching it down. You can see what it looks like here. I've done the same thing for the other side as well. So this is what the sleeve is going to look like. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to just turn everything over to the wrong side so that we can go ahead and join it on the sides. It's going to be quite tricky now because we've already made the ruchiness in the middle. So the fabric will kind of be hard, not necessarily hard to work with, but because of the ruchiness, it might just be a little bit stressful. But anyways, I'm going ahead to just arrange the sides of the front and the back together, pin it all the way to the end. I'll go ahead and stitch it down here by 1/2 inch, and also I would go ahead and finish up the ends when I'm done stitching down the sides. So I've made the stitch on the side, and I've gone ahead to iron it out as well. This is what it looks like, and you can see I cut off the excesses on the ends and also went ahead to finish up the ends. This is the side, and this is the end here. You can see it looks neat now. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, which is the last part, is for us to work on the tight effect that we have around the waistline in front. Now this is very simple. I've done something similar on the channel before. So I created these two ropes. I just folded my fabric into two to get this rope. Remember, I cut out 2 inches earlier, so this is what I used it to do. So the length of each of the rope is 30 inches. You can make yours longer or shorter. It depends on what you want and how big you are actually. So now from the shoulder, I'm going to come down by my waist measurement. From my shoulder to waist is 15 inches. I'm going to mark it here, and I'll do the same thing on this other side as well. Make sure to arrange the fabric as you're taking your measurements. Now from the center, I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4. So my waist measurement divided by 4 is 6. I'll mark it here. And from this center here, which is the elastic point, I'll go out by 6 inches again on this other side. So I'm going to be placing my ropes on these 2 points I just got. So on this side, I'll just pick it up, just the front. Okay, so from the inside, just to make sure it's the front alone, I'm going to be pinning the rope on it, just like you see I did here. Do it exactly the same way, and place the other rope as well like this. And from the inside, make sure you're pinning it only to the front part, and go ahead and pin it down. So I'll head over to the sewing machine and make top stitch to secure the ropes only on the front pattern. Make sure you're stitching it only on the front part, not pattern actually. This is what it looks like after I was done stitching it down. So I made a top stitch. Remember, only do it to the front, not front and back, else you will not be able to put it on. So now when I wear this dress, I'm going to tie those ropes around my waist on the inside. I've had a lot of people asking how it's going to be. You tie it around your waist on the inside. I can't do that for you guys, except I'm going to be showing you my whole body. So tie it on the inside and then bring down the whole clothes to cover it up. So that's basically all for the making of this tutorial. This is what the front is looking like. The waist tie is going to be on the inside. So thank you so much for watching.